And welcome back. The Florida housing market is taking a big nosedive right now as home prices are at an 8-month low. On top of that, housing inventory has doubled over the past year. There's that, plus a lot more in today's video. I'm going to give you guys an update regarding the Florida housing market based on data from the Florida Association of Realtors that was just posted a couple of days ago. And here's the actual report right here. This is for single family houses only for the state of Florida as a whole. So here's a brief summary. Then I'm going to take a deep dive in each of these stats right here. So closed home sales. 17,009 closed home sales in Florida for November 2022 compared to over 27,000 1 year ago. That's a 38.2% decrease on a year-over-year basis. We're also seeing huge decreases in cash sales, down by 39%. From 1 year ago, and also home prices, the median sold price right now, $400,000. Again, this is an 8-month low. However, though, compared to 1 year ago, home prices increased by 9.6%. Also, have a look at this. This is the median sale price to list price ratio. So 1 year ago, houses on average were selling for the seller's asking price. But as of November 2022, houses selling for about 4% below the seller's original asking price. That ratio there at 96.1%. Also, it's taking nearly 3 times longer to sell a house in Florida compared to November 2021. Days in the market right now is 29 days. 1 year ago, it was only 11 days. That's almost a 164% increase on a year-over-year basis. We're also seeing huge decreases of pending home sales, down almost 37%, new listings down by 15%, and inventory, or the number of houses for sale right now, has increased 105% compared to November 2021. Right now, there's approximately 70,000 houses for sale. 1 year ago, it was just under 34,000. This means the month supply has more than doubled as well, because it went from 1.2 months, now it's 2.8 months. So that's a really brief snapshot of what's happening right now in the Florida housing market. My biggest takeaways here are the big decrease of closed home sales, yet a huge increase of housing inventory, up by 105.2%. Also, houses taking 3 times or nearly 3 times longer to sell compared to 1 year ago. From 11 days, now it's 29 days. So pretty astonishing. Let's talk a little bit more about closed home sales, because at 17,009 closed home sales for November, again down 38.2% from 1 year ago. 1 year ago, there was approximately 27,000 houses that sold. Also, when looking at closed home sales from October through November this year, closed home sales decreased by 18%. So closed home sales decreased by 18% on a month-over-month basis. On top of that, at 17,000 closed home sales, this is the lowest number of closed home sales in Florida since January of 2019. So 17,000, the lowest numbers since January of 2019, as you can see right there. And I mentioned this because we're not only talking about huge decreases compared to 1 year ago. Obviously, 1 year ago, we had rates around 3.3%, and now rates are at 6.3%. So obviously, in 2020 as well as 2021, the housing market nationwide as well as in Florida was on steroids. It was absolutely skyrocketing. So I really want to mention how the stats we're seeing right now compares to pre-COVID levels, because that's really telling, saying that the levels right now of closed home sales at 17,000, the lowest level since January of 2019. Let's also talk a little bit more about cash sales. So again, there's about 5,200 cash sales for November. That's down 39% on a year-over-year basis. The current levels right now at 5,200 are the lowest levels since June of 2020. And also, what a difference a 1 year makes, because 1 year ago, there's 8,500 cash sales in Florida. And at that time, that was a 42% increase compared to 2020. Now it's been tanking ever since June of this year. Also, the percentage of closed home sales for the month of November was 30.6%. So of all the closed home sales for November, 30% came from cash sales. So 3 of every 10 closed home sales are coming from a cash buyer. That's a slight increase from last month, whereas last month that share was 28.4%. Also on par with last year's levels at 31.1%, very close to levels we have right now at 30.6%. Now let's talk about home prices in Florida right now. So the median sold price in Florida for November was $400,000. And by the way, this is an 8-month low, the lowest level since March of 2022, when the median sold price was just under $397,000. Compared to 1 year ago, compared to November 2021 though, home prices are still up by 9.6%, which is obviously still elevated levels. It's more normal to see gains in the range of 3 to 6% and not 9.6%. But still, it gains at 9.6%. This is much lower than the gains we saw last year, where we saw gains of 19.6% in November 2021. Now it's only 9.6%. Here's also a look at the median sale price to list price ratio, which has changed drastically since August of this year. So for November, that ratio is at 96.1%, meaning home sellers sold their houses for about 4% below their asking prices on average. But look at November 2021 through July 2022, that ratio was 100%, meaning houses selling on average for the seller's asking price. Now they're selling for about 4% below. Now I really like how the Florida Association of Realtors provides the original list price, this ratio based on the original list price. Because when we're talking about the final list price, this really excludes any price reductions. So speaking of price reductions, let me actually give you an update regarding that as well. So here's altosresearch.com for the state of Florida. For the share of price drops in Florida right now, the share is about 45%, 44.9%. And by the way, the national average right now is 41%. So in Florida, the share is slightly higher than the nation's averages here. But look at the past couple of years though, at 45% right now. 1 year ago, the share was about 24%. Back in 2020, it was 25%. And pre-COVID back in 2019, it was only 32%. So when looking at the ratio or the share right now at 45%, it's far higher compared to the past few years. Let's also have a look at days on the market, or the median time to contract is what they have to say here. So days on the market is at 29 days. Again, that's an increase of 163.6% compared to November 2021, because back then it was only taking 11 days to sell a house. That's a time frame when a home seller lists their house for sale to when they accept an offer from a home buyer. That's days on the market. 29 days right now versus 11 days 1 year ago. And also for the past 3 months in a row, we saw triple-digit gains on a year-over-year basis. So much different compared to the first half of this year, where we saw decreases compared to 1 year ago. It is worth noting that even though the trajectory is basically going straight up, I mean, we went from 12 days to 29 days in a matter of 6 months, 5 months. So this trajectory is absolutely skyrocketing, but the current levels we have right now at 29 days is still below levels back in 2018 as well as 2019. Because back in those years, days in the market was actually over 30 days every single month. But of course, time will tell, because this number, if it continues to increase at the same rate, we may get to very close to levels back in 2018 and 2019, and potentially above levels we saw back then as well. All right, changing gears slightly here, let's talk about new pending home sales. This is the number of listed properties that went under contract during the month. So for November, there was 17,160 new pending home sales for the month, but that's down 36.8% from November 2021. Back in November 2021, there was 27,000 new pending home sales. And also right now, the levels of 17,160, just kind of eyeballing this right now, the lowest level since approximately December of 2018, when there was also less than 20,000 new pending home sales. So in other words, we're seeing a huge decrease in home buying demand, and therefore we're seeing a huge decrease of new contracts being signed between buyers and sellers, the lowest level since approximately December of 2018. So not only are we seeing a decrease of pending home sales, we're also seeing a decrease of new listings. Not enough people listing their houses for sale. In fact, new listings are down 15.4% on a year-over-year basis. And new listings have been declining for 5 months in a row. And because new listings have been decreasing for the past 5 months in a row, and actually have been decreasing by double digits for the past 3 months in a row, this is actually putting downward pressure on inventory. If you actually imagine an environment where new listings were absolutely skyrocketing, and we already know that inventory is already skyrocketing, but if new listings were increasing big time, housing inventory would be absolutely going through the roof. So even though inventory is more than double compared to 1 year ago, this is pretty remarkable because new listings have been declining for 5 consecutive months. And again, if you guys follow the channel, you guys know I always talk about this because new listings on a national level have also been decreasing as well, even though inventory has been rising due to a decrease in home buying demand. And speaking of housing inventory, have a look at this. There's a 105.2% increase of housing inventory in the US. So housing inventory has more than doubled over the past year. So there's approximately 70,000 houses for sale right now versus about 34,000 1 year ago. And also when looking at this chart right here, the current levels right now, about 70,000 houses for sale, is on par with the early parts of 2020. It's also worth noting here that even though inventory is more than double compared to 1 year ago, the gains of housing inventory on a month-over-month basis has been slowing down here. Because look at this, from April, May, June, and July, we saw huge increases of housing inventory, but ever since then, we've been seeing increases, but not nearly as much. In regards to the month supply in Florida here, there's a 2.8 months housing supply in Florida here, and that's a 133.3% increase compared to 1 year ago, when the month supply was only 1.2 months. Back in November 2021, though, at 1.2 months, that was a 40% decrease from 2020. So a huge increase of housing supply in Florida. It's also worth noting that the month supply in Florida has doubled since May of 2020, going from 1.4 months now to 2.8 months. The Florida realtors also provide some insights regarding foreclosures, short sales, as well as REOs in the state. So here's traditional home sales, and here's foreclosures, as well as short sales in blue right here. So for the month of November, there was 16,911 traditional home sales in the state of Florida, compared to only 82 closed home sales for foreclosures or REOs. Also, there was only 16 short sales versus 16,911 traditional home sales. And obviously, when I mean traditional home sales, that's not a foreclosure, and of course, it's not a short sale. So the sales of foreclosures as well as short sales is basically non-existent when you compare that to traditional home sales. Florida realtors also provide some insights regarding home sales on a year-over-year basis, as well as home prices compared to 1 year ago by each of the major metros in Florida. So for the state of Florida as a whole, again, closed home sales decreased by 38.2% on a year-over-year basis here, and the median sold price increased by 9.6%. The smallest increases in home prices on a year-over-year basis were actually in Crestview, Fort Walton Beach, and as well as Destin, Florida here, only increasing by 3.2% from November 2021. We also saw a small increase by 1.1% in Sebastian and Vero Beach metro area, 1.1% increase. And also the Villages only increased by 0.9% on a year-over-year basis here. In stark contrast, though, look at these markets where they saw huge increases in home prices. Sebring up by 16%. Punta Gorda up by 21.2% on a year-over-year basis, whereas Northport and Sarasota, Florida increased by 15.6%. The Naples, Florida area increased by 29% on a year-over-year basis. Lakeland and Winter Haven Metro increased by 15.9% as well. And lastly, when looking at condos and townhomes in Florida, closed home sales were 7,000. That's a decrease of almost 39% on a year-over-year basis here. And also the median sold price for townhomes and condos in the state of Florida was $307,000 versus $400,000 for single-family houses. And at $307,000, that's an increase of 12.3% from November of 2021. And with that said, please comment below with your biggest takeaways from today's video. Also, if you guys got any value of this video whatsoever, then please hit the like button. I greatly appreciate that. Of course, I appreciate you. And hope you guys have an awesome day and look forward to seeing you on the next video.